What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. We in the bedroom stew, baby. And I got a video for you today that I don't think we've talked about before. And it's really interesting because it kind of came up in a random way. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about this since it's been a while. And I'll be honest, I've been doing a lot of work on the outline for the documentary, and it made me think about this. So it all just kind of organically came about. And so let's get into it today. So it was interesting. I heard something about delusional disorder, and I heard someone explaining it. I don't remember what it was. It was a YouTube video or something, and it just kind of came up. So it just kind of sparked my thought process of this whole, um, what Lori was diagnosed with. And I was like looking into it because I've kind of done some research on it before, because I think at some point when something's so hard to understand, like when you know someone and then all of a sudden they're like this completely other person, it really does make you think, like, what could have happened? Has this always existed? Was this something that just happened over time, or did she have a break, like Breaking Bad? Like she just one day she just snapped and all of a sudden she had all these things. So I kind of want to go through kind of what was interesting to me. So first off, we're going to get into this and I'll show it to you and break down what I was reading, because I went back. I'm not subscribing. Newsweek, sorry, frick you. Hopefully you can see it. I zoomed in on it, but this is what she was diagnosed with back in 23. And it says that she was, so Valo Debo, which by the way, she's never been legally Debo. She's always Valo. So people get mad at me for calling her that. I get it, but that's literally her name. She suffers from delusional disorder. Okay. Intertwined, which is interesting, with hyper religiosity and unspecified personality disorder with narcissistic features or narcissistic tendencies. Now, these are a lot of things going on. So I actually went in and started to question, what does each one of these things actually mean? And I want to read to you kind of where I got to. Let me pull up your guys' chat, because I got to highlight this one. I think one of you said, where's your emotional chipmunks? I have gotten rid of them. They're somewhere else in the house. And Donna will be making her way onto the stream today as well. So delusional disorder, let's go through that first. A delusion is a fixed or false belief that a person continues to hold even when there's strong evidence against it. So the crazy thing is like, no matter what you tell someone, that disorder is diagnosed as saying it doesn't matter how much you show them that it's not true, they believe it. So again, this is where it gets, and when religion and these two things gets put together, it's a lot different, because you can't necessarily, at least from when I was younger, I felt like you can't tell someone if they've had a spiritual experience, because if someone told you they saw an angel or Jesus or whatever the case is, you can't really tell them you didn't, because that would be the first thing that would come to your mind. It's like, no, you didn't. But that was how I was. A lot more timid. I didn't want to say to someone, I'm like, I might not believe it, but I can't really fight, that concept. That's not really for me to say that it's true or not true. So this is what I want to do, is kind of tell you guys why I think some of this stuff is a little bit. Okay, first let's start with the diagnosis. That's what I want to do. The diagnosis came in 23 based off of third-person information. Now we need to understand that Lori had not been through the trial. They didn't have all her evidence. And so what they knew was what they were told, probably from a third party. And so they diagnosed her. And again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not saying I'm smarter, but they diagnosed her based off what they knew at the time. She has backwalked her beliefs in every media. And my interview with her, she specifically said in our interview, she said that I believe what I believed before, when you knew me, which is an odd statement, because she says when you knew me, almost indicating that some part of her believes that you no longer know me. It's exactly the truth. But I think that's a bit of projection there. But she walked back all the stuff. She won't say that there's any kind of belief in zombies. She said that none of what they're saying in the media blew this out of proportion. Well, the funny thing is all the texts contradict all of that, because that's the stuff they were talking about. And all of their recorded conversations and all the emails and all this stuff proves that the zombie thing was a leading factor. Now, did she actually believe in these things? I'm going to say a part of me does not think she's fully delusional, because I'm going to read you these three things And I'm going to show you the evidence of why I don't think she's actually fully like out of her mind to the point where she doesn't understand the difference between reality. So examples might be of delusional disorder. Let's start with that one. Believing they have a special mission from God. Okay, that might actually be one. Believing they have unique powers. Well, when you wake up and it's the middle of a car ride and you're taking a nap and someone is doing this, trying to change the weather, it's terrifying. So maybe she did. Believing in certain people are secretly conspiring against them. That's paranoid, right? That's paranoid. And then believing they have some special knowledge nobody else knows. So here's the reason why I don't think that she's actually, I think two things are true at the same time. And I think that's what makes this so complex. I don't think that Lori specifically is so delusional that she actually doesn't know that what she believes isn't real. Now, one of the things she did say is she can't deny that she's seen Jesus and that she has to pay for that if she actually goes to heaven. So if she lies and says, I don't know what I've been told when it comes to this spiritual realm, I am going to be accountable to God. And I said, yeah, you are going to be accountable to God because this is blasphemy. You're using God's name to do horrible things in his name, in service of Jesus, right? But the other thing is, do I believe she actually believed in her unique powers? I don't believe that she believed it, and I don't think Chad believed it, because here's two things. People who were the apostles back in the Bible, when they knew what they knew and it was conviction, they were willing to die on that. Lori and Chad were never willing to die for their belief systems, and they walked it all back. Now, the counter argument is, well, Peter got scared because when they found out that Jesus had been arrested, Peter denied him 3 times, but Peter didn't spend a whole lifetime denying him. He only did it in that moment that night and then regretted it and changed his ways. Now, I'm not comparing Peter and Lori and Chad. Let's just be clear. Well, I guess Peter Griffin. But back to the main point is that I believe because of the secrecy, because of the lying, because of the tailored lies, there was an awareness that this was not real. And one of the things that I do believe that Melanie Gibb has said that's honestly real is that she said that whole moment where Lori said, if he's a devil, he's a good one. I believe that happened because it sounds exactly like something she would say. And I know her character very well. So I believe there was doubt. Now, with this delusional disorder, with some of these people, you know that somebody is all about it because they're willing to die for their convictions. And this is a real thing. A lot of people that truly believe in something and it's a cause is what has caused wars over time. It's a very big deal because you know you're convicted so deeply that you're willing to die for what you believe in. They were never willing to die for that, ever. That was never part of the deal for them. And so for the fact that they both have walked it back, they've tried to pretend that what the media has done is skew this idea that they believed in this zombies and they believed that they were chosen. And she walks it all the way back and says, it's really just LDS lore. It's absolutely not. Just so we're all clear. I don't know if you guys know a lot about the LDS church, but just to give a split in a lot of the ways, the main core part of the church is not, there. It's not the same, it's not what the church teaches. A lot of this stuff is more like some of the early Joseph Smith stuff, some of it's pulled from other places. And it's just like, it's this big combination of pop culture, things that they liked, video games, books. It's like this huge conglomerate of crap is what this whole religious thing is. So I'm just going to say the delusional disorder is there, but it's not as delusional as you think to the point where she doesn't have any right or wrong. I'll tell you what the delusion is to me. The delusion for her is to continue to believe in the lie to protect herself from the truth. So our brains are made to protect us from trauma. Like our brains are meant to try to protect us. And so, there's a lot of times where your brain will do really unique things to try to keep you going because your body's made to survive. So what I think is happening in this circumstance when it comes to delusions is that she's lying to herself so much until it's affirmed. And so if you lie to yourself enough and say the same lie over and over, it basically becomes a truth because it just slides out. So I'm thinking like her and her cell constantly saying the story about Tylee. It's absolutely not, but she didn't skip a beat in that story. You know what I mean? Like she says it as if it happened. And so that never happened. But the point being, she's convinced herself of those things. That's the difference in a lot of what she talks about. But this is the thing that's crazy is that evidence does not change the belief, logic does not change the belief, and the belief becomes a part of the person's reality. Like I said, I don't think this applies because I don't think she's actually fully convinced herself. I really believe that. I don't think she's actually fully convinced. And so that's where I have to kind of do some pushback. And I thought, that doesn't really apply to her because her actions around the whole thing, where she was afraid of the kids being found. And then she starts having this conversation with Chad about the property and laying out the concrete and making sure that there's not going to be any evidence found. And she's speaking around it in tongues and they're giggling like two idiots. And then on top of that, they're sitting there trying to, convince themselves that they're safe and that Alex from the other side, who's literally in hell, is going to save them from ever being caught or found out. So that's why I'm like, there's an awareness there because if you're fully delusional, I feel like you're more committed to the cause and there's not really a ton of back and forth because you believe it. You're convinced that you are this person. So I think all of her delusion part is part protecting her brain and the other part is just repetition until it becomes belief, but it's not actually like she can't understand the difference because she wouldn't have run, she wouldn't have hid, she wouldn't have lied the way she lied to every person in a different way if she was just like straight as an arrow, right? And especially if you try to go to the Bible, that's what the apostles were doing. They weren't out here trying to like convince, they were dying for the cause. Very different type of conviction when you're willing to die for something. Now, let's get into hyper religiosity. This is very interesting because she's, her with her LDS, belief system is very skewed. And, she kind of always mixed her favorite things. And so I feel like her belief system in God was very cherry picked already from the beginning. And this is why it's interesting because she liked the concept of Twilight. She liked the concept of these movies. And so almost whatever she liked from The Chosen, whatever she wanted to was not as scripturally based, but based off of things she's seen or heard that she liked. And honestly, a lot of people can be guilty of this. You kind of ignore the Bible for what you like. And it's like you have to take it as a whole. It's all one thing. Let me read your super chat real quick. As someone who grew up Mormon, I thought everyone believed that way because that is all I knew or was around. Was it the same way for you with Lori? Here's the thing that's interesting, just on a church base wise, there's a lot of stuff you learn depending on where you live, the type of environment you're in. If you're in a smaller town or you're in a really mainstream, I was in Texas and Arizona. So those two places have very more, I don't want to say mainstream, but like more mainstream LDS churches. And so when I was growing up, I was really the only LDS kid I knew besides the people in my ward, but everybody else out around me wasn't LDS. And then when I moved here, everyone was kind of LDS, but in certain areas, it's a lot more closed society LDS. It's different where you are. And then there can be more different belief systems. Like a perfect example, the FLDS church took the early church, how it was before it changed, and they pivoted and became their own entity based off of what the church was. And they kept all that stuff before certain things started to change. Over time, the LDS church has changed and implemented new things. But it's interesting because you have to look at the whole history of everything to understand kind of where Chad was, where Lori was. But like I said, their religion was very cherry picked off of lots of different concepts. So it's a different, there's not like a book that's going to say, oh, this is where this, and this comes from. It's very all over the place. It's pop culture. It's different ideals. It's different, end of the world lore. It's movies. It's so many things mixed together. And that's why I was like, this is why it's a big deal to specifically break down what this diagnosis is, so I can give you guys more context, because it's starting to kind of crumble when you really pick it apart. I don't know. So I thought it was interesting to share with you guys. Okay. So this is why this is crazy. This is not an uncommon thing. Hyper-religiosity is not as simple just being religious, and millions of people are deeply religious without being mentally ill. So it is a difference between being a religious person and hyper-religiosity. Hyper-religiosity occurs when religious beliefs become excessive, extreme, or disconnected from reality. So again, anytime someone really takes something to the extremes, in their own thing, it becomes hyper religious. Now, you can be hyper religious and have no other ill intent, but you're just consistently having, this huge um influx of like it's over the top belief system, and maybe even into the delusional area, depending if you're having visions. There's all kinds of things that go with it, but it's too much to break down. So I'm just going to give you some examples of what the hyper religiosity is. So an example is believing in God is speaking to you directly every day. I'm not saying that that's not possible, but it's people can think that their voice is God and they're telling themselves it's God. That's one. Believing you have a chosen above everyone else. This kind of slides into the narcissist category, but basically people think you're above. So I think it's crazy because I don't think any prophet in the Bible was supposed to feel like the top dog. They're just the ones that have the direct contact with God to give the will to the people. It was never about being superior and so much better. God is the only one that's superior. Obviously, Laura and Chad don't know that. And then being normal events contain secret divine messages. So meaning like, oh my gosh, there's going to be an earthquake. And then you look online, earthquake today. And there was an earthquake in some crazy place on the other side of the world. And you connect that to your fake lore that you make up. Oh my gosh, I'm a prophet because I said it's going to rain in Kauai. And then when it does, at some point, I can just connect those two events to I'm a prophet. And the thing is, unfortunately, people are stupid enough to believe this stuff because they want to believe in it so badly that they kind of trick themselves into that kind of thing where you just put all these events into a religious context when really it just rained, or really the tectonic plates shifted in that place and there was an earthquake, or really there just was a really bad storm or a fire or something of that degree, but they have to connect it to something. And I think some people do this. I'm just going to say it because it's the truth. Some people take everything that's happening and put it in a biblical context of everything. And then they say the end of the world's coming. It's happening. This is it. I'm not saying that things aren't leading to a certain point, but we just have to be careful with like reading events and understanding. You need a lot of spiritual influence there. You need a lot of the Holy Spirit to help you kind of actually negate what's going on versus every event being such a hyper religious thing. You know what I'm saying? And then interpreting every event as a supernatural intervention. This is where I think where Chad really did the gasoline and matches, probably the best example you'll ever hear. Is the worst two people got together. He kind of gave them, which I didn't realize till we heard the trials, is like what a part he played as the head guy. And I kind of say this example, I feel like if you were to look at a body, I feel like, as crazy as this sounds, Chad's the brain, Lori was the mouth, and Alex was the arm. Those are the three roles I feel like they play because, at the top, Chad's kind of actually like doing the spiritual crap and doing the pendulum and saying stuff and taking that kind of lore and giving it out to, as spiritual divine understanding to the lower pieces. Now, Lori was more like the typical cult recruiter. She's the salesman. You guys ever seen Friends when Ross and Chandler go to the gym and they're trying to cancel the membership? And so the guys go get the girl and make her be the salesman and keep the guys there. It's the exact same kind of concept where it's like you go and get somebody to sell this crap because a lot of people, for whatever reason, follow maybe somebody who's charismatic or whatever it is. People think they're good looking. People think this about that they're smooth talkers, and they just kind of believe it more easily, I guess. So that's kind of how that works. I'll read this in just a second when I'm done with this, just so you know. And let me go down here. So professionals mention it, hyper-religiosity combines with delusions. A person might start viewing themselves as a special person. So a prophet, a chosen leader, a divine messenger, or someone with special spiritual authority. So let's go back and let's have the conversation about who Chad Daybell said he was to the group and who Lori says she is to the group and who they told Alex who he was. So Chad thinks he's the so this is the most blasphemous thing ever, especially when you understand the context. So there's a point in the Bible where Jesus explains that he is on the right side of the throne of God, the Father. And two of the disciples ask him, can we join you on your right and left on theirs? And he says, you have no idea what you're asking for, because there's a real cost. I'm the savior of the world. Like, you don't understand what you're asking for, even if you have a good intent. I think their mom asked Jesus for them to be those things. He said, you can't do what I do, which is why you can't have this position where I am with my Father. Okay. Chad believes he's the other son of God. So we're talking about divinity to the highest degree, to where you now have God the Father and Jesus, and Chad has now put himself as an equal to Jesus Christ. Makes him the other son of God, basically. So in that context, if you even believe that in a slightest, you don't even think he's a prophet. You now take him above the prophet level. You're not just an interpreter of God. You're not just a hearer from God or a messenger from God. You are literally God in some form. Like, you are divine. So that's who Chad Daybell said he was. The guy who held 2 hot dogs in one hand is saying this. The guy cheated on his wife and killed kids and murdered his wife and murdered my family is the other son of God in what he's telling people. I'm still holding 2 hot dogs. Get out of here. I'm just telling you, it's crazy. Like, the blasphemy, like it's like the definition of blasphemy. Like, it's the definition. Like, taking literal God stuff and putting yourself and plugging yourself into those things, basically saying you're Jesus. So if Lori or Alex, which I think, again, I'll go back to Alex every time. I think Alex was the biggest idiot, because he believed it more than I think anybody, because he's just that unbright, that he believed in his heart that is what it was. Like, he believed this whole thing. And so that's why he did what he did, because he wanted to repent for his life. And so he therefore was willing to do whatever these idiots said. It's really sad. There's a lot of manipulation. I don't feel bad for Alex. He's smart enough to know, but the fact that he did do what he did shows you what an idiot he really was. And the fact that he was willing to do it is even worse. Like, I don't even care what anybody tells you. It's so unbiblical and it's so unchrist-like. It doesn't even make any sense. Like, you can't read your Bible and then hear someone say this stuff and add it to 2 + 2. You can't. But obviously the hierarchy was Lori even submitted more to Chad's authority, which I didn't understand. But then Lori started saying she has the priesthood. Now, it's a really big deal, because there has not been women who hold the priesthood in the church, I don't think, since the very beginning, when church first was created, the LDS church was first created. The priesthood is a very specific thing that sets you apart, that gives you the ability to pray over people. I think it's for healing the sick. I don't want to misspeak because I don't really remember what it's for, but it's a real thing. And so women don't carry it in the normal mainstream LDS church, but Lori was breaking all the lore. So she gets to just break the rules because of who Chad is, who he says. Also, they think they've lived many times, so there's no repentance needed. Jesus basically doesn't matter anymore, because you don't have to repent for your sins because you're so special. You've been sent back 37 times. That's insane. This is absolutely insane. Then they told Alex, hey, you've been here before. You've never been here before. This is your first time. And then they go back later and they change the whole story and say, you've actually been here. It's like, he can't follow his own logic. He hasn't written this stuff down. He's just shitting it out as he says it. It's crazy. So, and then one of the other big distinctions is the beliefs come from a attached reality. The beliefs cause harm, and the beliefs override evidence and reason. Now, I really want to touch on this part right here. All 3 of those people, including the other group, we can kind of throw them into it. But the reality is every single one of them was very detached from reality. They all really worked in hyper-religiosity. What the mainstream churches do is that most of the churches, like, I feel like they're trying to spread more of a gospel message. What some people do is they get bored of the same old thing, especially if you're raised in it. People get bored, and then someone comes around and does the Pharaoh stuff from Prince of Egypt and starts dazzling you with this concept that you are so special and you are so amazing. And the thing is, that's true. You are unique and special, but it's a manipulative kind of way to get people to be excited and be more important than they really are. And that's exactly what Jody Hildebrandt was doing. She was raising people up and then she'd take them down. It's like the definition of an abusive relationship. It's somebody who makes you on a pedestal and then takes the pedestal away and has a complete hold over your mind. Well, the same thing with this kind of concept is you kind of get this razzle dazzle bull crap that someone comes around and starts saying all this new cool stuff. Oh my gosh, here's this revelation from God and it's new and you lived a bunch of lives and you're so special and you're going to come back and you lived this life. You were married to this prophet. Like you just go down this line of bullshit. It's just that I'm sorry to say that's all that is. It's a complete fabricated lie. But people wanted to believe it because it makes those people feel special. So that's kind of how it works. I mean, it just pulls people in and gets them very excited and then completely, is a complete lie. But they want to believe it because again, we've talked about this. A lot of things in life come from the inner part of you. So if you have a ton of issues with your self-confidence, where you don't feel good enough, maybe you've been in bad relationships, whatever the case may be, I think what happens is it really gets in your head and then someone comes around and tells you all these lies and just kind of pushes this whole idea out. Before I finish that, let me read this chat real quick. Maybe they were so reckless last half of 2019 because they really thought it was the end of days and they wouldn't have to be accountable here on earth. Then reality hit them in the face. I agree with that. I think so. He was razzle dazzling with those hot dogs is crazy, Brand. It's so true though. You let a 2 hot dog in one hand dude lead you to hell. I don't understand it. I said that to Laura. I said, you let this dude lead you to hell. I don't understand why you'd follow him. Okay, now this is interesting because I've always known about this personality disorder with Lori specifically. Lori does have a personality disorder. I've always known this and I've always realized she has no logic. And I remember thinking to myself, because it drives you crazy especially when you're a teenager. You're having a conversation and they're so erratic and the stuff that they say has no basis in reality. And you'll say something like, again, I always give you this example because it's the best one that always kind of makes the most sense in context. But I remember she was sick on the phone. I just had Riley and the night. So the next morning, everybody wants to come see Riley because she was just born. So I call my mom and we're having this conversation. I can hear that she's sick. And I'm like, hey, if you're sick, like if you have like a cold, don't come see Riley today because I don't want my newborn, who's not even a day old, not even 24 hours old, to get sick. And that was like what our wishes were. You're not coming here sick. And the first thing she says out of her mouth, like in rebuttal, so you'll never let me see my grandbaby ever. So you just will never let me see her ever in my whole life. And I'm just the worst grandma. And I was like, someone's having a time. Like, what the hell was that? But that's the type of stuff. But that's like just the perfect example because it's exactly how it was in context all the time. I said, don't come here because you're sick. And the extreme on the other levels, you'll never let me see my grandbaby ever. Like, I'm not allowed to see her. I said, what are you talking about? Do you have any like reality base? Like, I never said that. And that's the type of stuff I grew up with. Like the level of understanding of reality of what I said was registered, went in this ear, went through the idiot turnpike and came out of her mouth as the opposite of something that I said. It had nothing to do with reality, but that's exactly how I grew up. And so it wasn't super crazy, but that's the type of stuff I really used to realize. I would sit there and be like, what is wrong with you? What are you doing? Like, why is this so why are you so unhinged? Like, I don't understand how I said what I said and you took it to another level. So that was the hardest part about, dealing with that. The personality disorder though, that's part of that because you get whatever version. And I've said this a lot, but the way that I functioned growing up in that reality is I became like the most unconfrontational human being because it's so stressful to talk to her and like go to her with problems or like, normal stuff. Like I need some support or whatever. She just couldn't handle anything I said. So everything I said was just such a big deal. It's just, like I said, pulled out of context, put into a new reality and came out of her mouth. I'm like, oh, never mind. I'm just never going to have problems. Like I'm going to be quiet and I'm just not going to say that I have any problems. Everything's going to be Gucci all the time. So that's number one. This is the long-term patterns, though, of the personality disorder that you can notice. It's the thinking, the feeling, behaving, and relating to other people. Obviously, they don't think they know exactly what it is, but the fact that they even put unspecified personality disorder is the type of erraticness. I can almost liken it to like bipolar almost. Like the version that you get of her always was so drastically different. It's either really negative or very end of times or very emotional or overly sweet or overly pissed. It's very extreme to each temperature. And so I think that that's kind of what they couldn't really pin is like, I don't know. I don't know what you call that. I mean, I just call it nut job. Okay. She's a nutty bar. Okay. I don't know what to call it. It really doesn't have a category. It's just such an extreme emotional. And that's my point. That comes from wounds. That comes from a real place. Like there's something real about it, but it's not, and she never took care of that stuff. And so that mental health stuff really does turn into more if you don't take care of your trauma and you're going through your whole life and you have these issues, and you come up to people and you're like, I'm going to pass away in 2 years, prepare for it. Angels told me I'm gone. And it's like, okay, I don't know how to handle that. Like I'm 8 years old. I don't know what to do. You're going to die in 2 years. Like I have to prepare myself. Oh, it's been time extended. You know what I'm saying? Or I've lost time. I'm going to be gone soon. It's like, okay. I'm like, I can't follow you down this rabbit hole. Like at some point, I can't even follow you where you're going. You're going down a path I can't follow, Anakin. I can't do it. So it's interesting because they say there's a personality pathologically that doesn't fit into any specific disorder. She's so effed that there's not even a category that they could have put it in. It had to be unspecified. So I want to put that out there. This is what I grew up with. Okay. Just saying. Okay. Now narcissistic features. If I were to teach a psychology class, I would pull Lori as my absolute textbook narcissist. Like literally, like it's almost scary how well she fits the bill. If anything is the truest on this form, it's being a narcissist. As her being a narcissist, I want to go through a few different things. Narcissistic features is not the same thing as a narcissistic personality disorder. It means that the evaluator observed the traits associated with narcissism. Now listen to this. Common narcissistic traits is grandiosity, which is believing you are especially unique and superior. So that is the thing. A narcissist, I think, almost rides the borderline, kind of like how we talk about psychopaths. They're very self-interested, and psychopaths just don't feel anything. But for her, everything revolved around her feeling, how she's, her thing, and that she is special. Now, again, this for me comes from a place of a wound. You hate yourself so much. You have such an issue with yourself that you have to overcompensate by making yourself feel more special, because that's exactly how Chad got into her head, is that he comes in and says, your whole life actually has been like this for a reason. There's a reason that you have been through hell. It's not because your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. It's always been the devil. Guys, let me just say something back to the hyper religious, whatever. It's so ridiculous to say everything is the enemy's fault. It's not. We make mistakes and we live in those mistakes, and it's okay to admit that you made a mistake. But that hyper religious thing does the same thing. It's the devil. It's like freaking Bobby Boucher's mom. That thing is the devil. No, it was you. You screwed up. It's okay. We all make mistakes. But stop being so crazy with you have to blame it on another entity. It's things happen. Sometimes they're our fault. Sometimes they're not. But to always blame the devil is insane. Like, it's just not the truth. We make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. Why are we in society forgetting that it's okay to make mistakes? Anyway, let's go back to it. But it's the I am chosen. I am enlightened more than everyone else, which is the big one, which is they think we are superior. This is the superior complex is real. Like, I am superior above you. I know more. I'm enlightened more than you. Like, you can't understand this level. She even told me the Bible's a great book, but the Bible is like for some people, but like, I just know more. I just have more information. I'm like, no, you don't. LeBron on the block. Like, you're so stupid. I can't listen to you. I can't hear this. You have more knowledge than the Bible. You're above the Bible. It's like a great book. It's not folklore. It's not a Twilight book series. It's the Bible. You're above the Bible? What is wrong with you? What are you doing? Anyway, sorry, I get pissed off. And then the people don't understand me because I'm operating on a higher level. Exactly. The world revolves around me. I'm a prophetess. I am so powerful. Like I told you, they were the worst two you could put together in this way. He wanted her so bad, so he was willing to lie to get whatever he wanted. And she needed it. She wanted to be worshiped. So it's really just this full circle, documentary. I mean, not documentary. I read that word as you said that. Look, as she said this, I read it and I put out documentary. It's a full circle crap show relationship where they go back and forth, where he wants something from her, she manipulates him, and then she wants him and manipulates him. I mean, the manipulation between the two was so real, it's not even funny. Like they actually both were just constantly manipulating each other. So it blows my mind that they actually even found each other. Like it's like almost that's the most biggest anomaly, that those two idiots even got together. Two hot dogs and just numbnut both just created the worst thing you could possibly have. It's insane. So and then another thing is need for admiration. It's a big deal because this man was worshiping her because he even told her, you're like my absolute, like I've always wanted you, basically. So he's making her feel really special. You know what I'm saying? Craving attention, wanting followers, and needing others to reinforce your self-image. Have such low self-esteem that you need somebody else to give you that. Now, I'm not saying that you can't give that to your partner or like your wife, like constantly, have and tell them the truth about the relationship or whatever the case is. But I need to make this clear. When it comes to your mental health, you can't rely on other people to gas you up. It's just the truth. And it's sad because they will let you down. They will let you down. And so you have to learn how to have self-worth for you. And then that self-worth keeps you above water. And that way, when you're in relationships, you're actually genuinely giving them love and you're not gassing them up to get love back. You have to learn how to love yourself outside of anybody else. If somebody says, I don't love you, doesn't mean that you're not loved. Like we have to get to that point. But this all starts with you and your internal issues. And then you can function differently. The problem is they're both wounded people. And they both manipulated each other. And she wanted to be worshiped like she was some kind of God. And that's what he did. So that's why it worked. I mean, it's just this two just absolute morons. Sense of entitlement they both had because they thought they were entitled to have money. They're entitled to kill people. They justified it with the religious stuff. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think the religious stuff was actually played as much of a part as they might like to say it in the group. They just needed some way to just pretend that they weren't murdering for murder's sake for money. It's kind of like how with Corey Richards, like she didn't have a religious stuff to it. She just killed her husband for the money and to get what she wanted because she was going to be put in a bad position and she was already cheating. It's the same exact thing, only Lori and Chad added in a lot of the religious stuff, but they walked it all back. You know what I'm saying? They walked it all back. So that's how you're always going to see is that they don't actually believe it. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're completely delusional, you're not thinking clearly. You don't have like a bunch of doubts and like, I wonder if I'm doing the right thing. No, you're delusional, dumbass. You're going to go straight ahead. It's the train's going off the track. You believe in all your heart that you are correct. That's why you commit so hard. We're trying to sugarcoat it with these ideas because of what's being said. But all of this is blankets for evil to not feel evil. You want to do evil without having the consequence of being evil. That's the point. It's just an excuse. It's a total lie. They know it's an effing lie. And that is why it went down the way it did, because they couldn't live with it if it were just plain murder. They had to sugarcoat that. Oh, well, they're actually these dark entities. No, you just wanted to kill them. Like it all boils down to one thing. You wanted them out of your life. You wanted to be together and you wanted no kids on one side for whatever reason, as if Chad's kids are holy. And again, I don't want anybody to be killed. So I wouldn't want any harm to come to his kids either. But the fact is they only went for my family. That just shows you how ridiculous. Like get everybody out of the way on Lori's side, not Chad's side, just Lori's kids are horrible. And so it just shows you it was all about the selfishness and all about what they wanted. It had nothing to do with religion, but they used it as a blanket because it's just easier that way. So here's what's really interesting. This is how these kind of interact with one another. This is kind of the chain that goes. So step one, a person has a development in religious delusions. I have a divine mission. Now, that already existed. They both kind of had this like fake special purpose. You know what I'm saying? They needed to feel like their life was not just a mistake. So Chad's a loser and Lori's a loser in a lot of ways too. Lori had her husband helping and taking care of her and giving her everything she wanted, but yet she didn't feel accomplished in her own life and she felt bad. So, like I told you guys, I watched a woman. That's why I tell you guys I'm G14 classification when I say certain things. I won't talk on it unless I feel like I know what I'm talking about. I watched a woman who in theory had everything you could possibly want in life. Charles took care of my mom and our family, and then he overtook care by giving her what she wanted. She had the nice car. That we always had beautiful homes. We lived in Hawaii. We moved back into these really nice places. That woman was not in need of anything. So again, that is the world view that I would want to have this be taken care of this way. Charles gave her everything. It did not matter because this was corrupt. The inner part of her was corrupt. It has nothing to do with material things. It has nothing to do with money. You could have everything you wanted. Charles was a good looking, good man. Like if you're just objectively looking from the outside, she had what you would want. Then she had a family. She had kids. She had people who loved her. I mean, come on, dog. Like she had it all. You could really say this woman really lived like in the top percent of people who live like lives. Like in a normal way, she definitely lived in the upper echelon part of that. They did. They lived a completely different kind of lifestyle. And so why wasn't that enough? Why was none of your kids enough? Having possible grandkids from me at that time, I literally having a grandkid, then Tylee would have had grandkids. Who knows if JJ could or not? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Like you weren't happy because you are a miserable person. It has nothing to do with anything else. That's why I try to say mental health is real. And if you don't take care of it, it has maybe not this is such a 0.1% of people, but this kind of stuff does happen when you don't take care of your mental health. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. So that's kind of that number one too. And then it interacted with hyper religiosity, intensifies those beliefs by God is speaking to me directly. Again, this all existed then turned into with Chad, he reinforced it. That's the only reason why it wasn't just tons of new information. A lot of this is they already believed these things prior than when they got together. There's, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm special. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah. No, I mean, I'm divine. That makes sense. Like, it's like this stuff she wasn't just pulled into a new realm of reality. A lot of this stuff existed prior to it. It just got intensified. And then the personality disorder had always existed, and I don't need to listen to criticism because everyone else is wrong. When everyone else is wrong, you're wrong. I just said this on the last stream. Charles taught me this when I was like 13, maybe. He said, if everyone around you is an asshole, it's actually that you is the asshole. It's the realest thing ever. When everybody else is wrong, you should check your ego and see if you're wrong, because you can't be wrong. And I don't know when we got so upset with being wrong or having things not go, like making mistakes and being wrong is like so, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's possible. I guess you're not human, because that's what happens. People are wrong, and you need people to kind of help you and check you and love you enough to say, hey, you're not doing what you need to be doing, and I care about you, and so I'd like to see you do better. You're wrong. And then you want that kind of relationship with people, because there's going to be times where you're wrong. And it's okay to apologize, and it's okay to do that. So I don't know. We're kind of at a point where even in society, that's the case. But with her, it's like extreme. Like, I don't need to repent. I don't need to worry about it. I am higher knowledge. I am better than you because I'm in the church of the firstborn. I've been here before. Like, you just go down and reinforce a narcissist. You going down, you reinforce this person who already wants to believe this. It doesn't matter if they actually do, they want to, because it covers all the wounds of their life and trauma. It's ridiculous. So I truly believe, like, this is what got me going, is I just started to poke some holes in my own brain about what I think about Chad and Lori. And over time, especially, like I said, going back, and for whatever reason, when you're kind of thinking about a timeline of my life, in Tylee's life and Lori's life, all of a sudden these things start popping up in these memories. And so I'm like thinking about stuff, I guess, for the first time again, like in sequence. And the more I think about stuff, I'm like, this is really odd stuff. But then I heard that the delusional disorder, and I was like, the thing is, there's people who are really, really delusional, who really don't have that back and forth. Like it's not really, it's not a scale where it's like, maybe I believe this, maybe I don't. Like they're usually pretty committed to the cause and they're just like super passionate and it just goes that way. So that's what brought all this up. I really hope this was maybe informational and hopeful to you. Or not hopeful, helpful to you. I hope that by sharing this kind of stuff, it helps maybe just in the mental health realm in case anybody you know is suffering from this. It's kind of a stretch to say we never want this to happen again because obviously we don't. But the reality is we can't stop these things other than just bringing awareness. So I don't know what the awareness does. I just pray that it gets to the right people. People can notice things and maybe people can go just get help for themselves because there's nothing wrong with doing therapy. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's very good for your soul. It's okay to dump your trauma and learn how to compartmentalize. There's so many good things that come from therapy. So don't be afraid of it. It's a beautiful thing and it really will and can help you. And yes, there actually is light at the end of that tunnel. Like once you start the process, you can go down and start actually working through your life, especially childhood trauma. It's very big, it's very real. And at some point, you got to face that demon. You got to go back and deal with it. And it sucks so bad. I promise you, it sucks. It sucks. But I keep telling you guys, my new thing with like analogies is like some parts of life are like 127 hours, the movie, where you're stuck and you're not really making any progress. And so at some point you have to do the hardest thing, which is, get rid of an arm or do something really drastic to actually be free. So it's like you choose what you want to be. You want to be stuck like that forever and keep suffering, or do you want to make the hard decision and do something drastic, but actually walk free? Maybe different. It might be hard, but at some point that will heal and you get to go on. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, that's exactly what sometimes it costs to heal. It costs something. Everything costs something. So staying where you are costs something and getting better costs something. You choose your heart. That's really what life always is going to be. And so I really hope and pray that this is helpful to you. If you know people who are struggling with this, maybe a conversation can be had. I don't know. Obviously, I always think I wish I would have known what I know now, gone back, but maybe it might not have made a difference. I don't know. It's just I want to bring awareness to this stuff, and it is definitely something that is on my mind when it comes up. Luckily, it's not haunted me the way it used to. I've really healed from it. It really has become something that doesn't attack me all the time. I mean, I guess I still have my bad dreams and things like that. That's just life, but it's not on my mind that just haunts me. And a lot of these things I realize I'm not going to have the answers to. And if I could share anything else that's helpful, one of the things is it's okay to accept the fact you might not understand all the answers. And at some point, your life just has to continue on. So I just want and pray that you guys are moving forward in your lives, working through your trauma. Know you have a community here. We try to talk about all kinds of different things like this to bring awareness and help people. That's it. That's all I hope we can do in this situation is bring some kind of level of love and help to people's lives. So I love you. I will see you guys later this week and we'll be back with you. And have a great rest of your day. Love you guys, man.